A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to
Good
the
morning,
live
sir.
class. Good morning. So I will be continuing with my discussion related with the landscape of the soul. As you all know, yesterday I started that particular chapter with you all. I am now presenting the screen. I guess it will be visible shortly. It is getting processed. So I guess you all can see the screen right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess the screen is also visible. So before I start with the proceeding, I will be sharing one content with you all. Can you all see this content? Is this content visible to all of you?
No, sir.
It is projected in the screen. Yes, please check it once. Okay, fine. So is it visible right now to you all? This is a very important content. This is not the text.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So this is not the text, but few important information I like to provide related with this particular chapter, the landscape of the soul. Now, few things are very important here. We will be getting a comparison between the Chinese form of painting and the European form of painting. And remember, this particular extract, that is landscape of the soul, it has been taken from this book, and here I highlight it. I guess all of you can see Ethics and Spirituality in Chinese Painting. Okay, so it has been highlighted, or it has been taken from this book. And in this chapter we will get a comparative study about how different the Chinese art form is from the European art form, because both the schools are different. I mean, the Chinese art form is much more philosophical, it is much more spiritual in comparison with the European form of painting. Okay, we have learned yesterday regarding this. Then obviously we learnt about Wu Daozi, we learnt about Emperor Wangzong, and I guess we learnt about Quentin Messias also. So let us move on then. I think Shomodeep joined right now.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, a very good morning. Welcome to the live class. So I will be discussing the text, but before that I am discussing few important critical portions related with landscape of the soul. Now I am scrolling a bit down. Some of the important characters that we came across yesterday in the class. One important was the famous 8th century painter. His name was Wu Daozi. Okay, he is the 8th century Chinese painter who disappeared inside his last painting. Now that is something very mysterious, and we have learnt about it, that there was a cave at the bottom of the mountain. He clapped his hands, the door of the cave opened, he entered inside it, and obviously after that neither the painter nor his landscape painting was visible. And the most important thing is that Wu Daozi was never ever seen again in this world. I guess that part also I made it clear to all of you. Now Emperor Wangzong, now why he is so much important? Because he was the Chinese emperor who actually commissioned, okay, the painting, who actually told Wu Daozi to paint that beautiful landscape painting. I guess there is someone on the line. Just wait, everyone. Okay, so I guess Anushko joined us right now. A very good morning, Anushko. Welcome to the live
Good morning,
class.
sir.
Good morning. Okay, So Emperor Wangzong actually commissioned the painting that on the palace wall Wu Daozi will have to paint a landscape. But ultimately Emperor Wangzong was totally shocked and equally surprised when he found that both the painting as well as the painter, they both disappeared. And from the spiritual perspective, we can say that the Chinese emperor was not an active participant in appreciating the painting, unlike Wu Daozi, who was an active participant in his own painting. I guess there are some more students about to join. Yes, very good morning to all of you. Welcome to the live class. Okay. Now, let me move on. See, it is written the Chinese emperor who admired Wu Daozi's painting but was not an active participant in it. Okay, so let us move on right now. Quinten Messiaerts. We have read about Quinten Messiaerts, very famous painter of the 15th century. He was actually a Belgian painter, but his actual profession, I guess you know by this time. Yesterday I discussed that amazing story also, that he was actually a blacksmith, okay, who changed his profession to become a delicate realist painter. Remember, Quinten Messiaerts or Messiaerts, he was actually a delicate realist painter. Okay, that is something very important, and that is something we should all know about. Okay, and finally he married the woman he loved. Remember, he painted a fly that seemed to be very real, but actually it was not real. And that was the reason the girl's father, when he entered his own painting canvas studio, he initially thought it to be a real fly and decided to swat it away, but later realized it was not a real one. Okay, now I am coming to the explanation part of it, because these things we have already done, so a short recap will be nice for all of us. So, anecdote about Chinese painter Wu Daozi. Now, what references we get to know about Wu Daozi? Number one, we know it very well that he was a very famous, a legendary, we can say, and equally mysterious 8th century Chinese painter. Had been commissioned by the Emperor Wangzong to paint a landscape in order to decorate a palace wall. We know about it that the Chinese emperor at that time was Wangzong. So he commissioned Wu Daozi to paint a beautiful landscape painting, okay, to draw a beautiful landscape in order to decorate his palace wall. We all know about it. Okay, just a minute, I think there is someone on the line. Okay, so let us move on once again. See, to paint a landscape in order to decorate a palace wall. When the painting was ready, the emperor was invited to appreciate it. But remember one thing, Wu Daozi kept it a top secret, and that was the reason he almost concealed the painting. Okay, he almost had kept it hidden, veiled it totally, so that he kept it in such a way that only the emperor can see it. Okay, so he had put the painting behind a screen. As I told you, he veiled it, he kept it in a very concealed manner, as if it's very much confidential. Okay, see, the master here, obviously, as you know, it refers to Wu Daozi. The master had hidden his work behind a screen only for the emperor to see. He had created a beautiful scene, and all the scenes that are being depicted, these scenes are typical in a landscape painting. Dear students, you will be finding all these beautiful aspects of nature. And even the emperor has also recognized all these things. Beautiful forest is there, high mountains, waterfalls, clouds, men on hilly paths, birds in flight, and a cave situated at the foot of a mountain where a spirit resided. Now everything was recognized by the emperor, and remember, Wu Daozi was present just near him only. Now he commented that there is a cave that can be seen in the painting that the emperor couldn't locate actually. So Wu Daozi told him about that particular mysterious cave, and inside the cave there is a spirit also. Now that cave is situated at the foot of a mountain. And what Wu Daozi did after that, you all know, he clapped his hands and the door of the cave opened. Inside it is far more beautiful. I repeat, inside the cave it is far more beautiful. See, it is written, as the painter was showing the painting to the admiring emperor, he offered to show the emperor the way to the splendid interior of the cave. The exterior part of the painting was something that mesmerized the emperor Wangzong, but when he saw a bit related with the interior designs that can be seen from outside inside the cave, he was spellbound. Okay, it reaches that level of artistic beauty that we can consider to be supreme. Okay, supremely beautiful. It was supremely magnificent, we can say. And then the emperor was totally surprised, as you all know by this time, because Wu Daozi, what he did all of a sudden, after making the emperor locate the cave that was at the foot of a mountain, he clapped his hands, and all of a sudden the entrance door to the cave opened. Okay, and after that what happened? You all know, dear students, the painter got in, that means he got inside the cave, but the entrance closed behind him. Before Wangzong could actually follow Wu Daozi inside the cave, because Wangzong was also so much spiritually motivated that he was about to follow the mysterious painter Wu Daozi, who entered inside a cave that was in his own painting. Okay, after Wu Daozi entered, it was Wangzong who also was about to enter, but unfortunately the entrance door closed behind him. And after that what happened? Much to the surprise of Wu Daozi, much to the surprise of Wangzong, because something that is very hard to define, dear students, because what happened after that, it is shocking as well as very much surprising, and that left the Chinese Emperor Wangzong totally astounded. He was totally surprised. He was amazed at the outcome of events. I repeat one more time, Wangzong was amazed at the outcome of events, because what happened after that, that is something that Wangzong never ever imagined in his life, that he would have seen a scene like that. And what was that? And I hereby highlighting this part, this is what I am trying to say. Both the painting, okay, both the painting and the as well as the painter vanished. And after that, much to the surprise of the Chinese emperor, both the painting as well as the painter vanished. Okay, they went out of sight. And remember one thing, not only the painter's brush was seen, not even a single trace of Wu Daozi was left behind. He vanished along with his painting. Both he along with his painting, they both got vanished. Okay, I guess it is clear to all of you. Now there was another interesting story that we have read, but we don't know the name of the Chinese painter. I guess you all remember, dear students, the Eye of a Dragon. Have you remembered that story? There was another reference, there was another anecdote. Dear students, have you remembered that one? The Eye of a Dragon. Can any one of you say something about it? The Eye of a Dragon? Yes? Can any one of you?
If the eye
Huh.
is created, then the dragon will come out of the picture and become alive.
Very good, very good. Now that is also a mysterious story, and that is related with an unknown Chinese painter, because no name of that Chinese painter was given. We can say it's an anonymous Chinese painter. Absolutely right, that the dragon might come out of the painting. Wait, let me allow. I think Raghav joined right now. Yes, good morning, Raghav. Welcome to the live class.
Good morning, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
good morning.
Sorry for today I am late.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Let us move on, Raghav. So, I guess there is someone else about to join right now. Yes, yes, Shayandeep also joined us right now. A very good morning, Shayandeep. Welcome to the live class. I am discussing landscape of the soul. Okay, so yes, good morning. I am once again displaying the screen for all of your convenience. Okay. Now, regarding the Chinese painter, yes, you are absolutely right. One of you have given me a nice feedback that he refused to draw the eye of a dragon. Okay, 99% of the painting was totally completed. Okay, but he refused to draw the eye of a dragon. The reason behind it is that there was a frightening likeness that can be seen in the painting that was drawn by the Chinese painter and an actual dragon. That was the reason, because of that fear at the back of the mind of the painter, after visualizing that the dragon that he had painted and a real dragon, there is a frightening similarity or likeness between an actual dragon and the dragon painted by that anonymous Chinese painter. So that is the reason he haven't drawn the eye of the dragon, because he feared it would fly out of the painting. See, it is written, whatever I told, it is written in here in point wise. There is another story about a Chinese painter who refused to draw the eye of a dragon he had painted, as it had such frightening similarity or likeness of an actual dragon. So the painted dragon, after he had painted it, he found that there is a great similarity, okay, frightening similarity between an actual dragon and the dragon that he had drawn, that he feared it would fly out of the painting. And that is the reason, because of that fear at the back of his mind, he was unwilling, or rather to say in other words, he was reluctant to draw the eye of the dragon. Okay, now I am moving a bit down. Now the important thing, what we will get to know, we learned about Wu Daozi. Later we will be learning about the theory that is related with painting and designing, that is known as Dualism. Okay, now this term Dualism, this theory or this term, it came from the famous painter Wu Daozi. Okay, I will be discussing it at length, but just let me give you an overview of this part. Okay, that is also related with the text. So what is Dua means? Dua means path or way. Actually it is the way into the mystery of the universe, we can say. Now the emperor may rule over territories, but the artist alone knows the way within. That is the reason. That is the reason the emperor, he might be very powerful. He might rule over many countries. He might rule over many territories. But the artist, he only has the power. He only has the artistic strength, dear students, who knows the way within. That is the reason he entered. And Wang Zong was the Chinese emperor at that time. He failed to enter because it was Wu Daozi who alone knows the way within. So he entered inside the cave, that is inside his own painting, and the walls of the cave closed, or the door of the cave closed, and after that the painting as well as the painter both disappeared. Okay. Now the disappearance of the painting, as I was referring to this for a long time, from the wall signifies the artist's knowledge of the spiritual inner world. I already told you about it, that whenever we discuss about Chinese painting, we have to remember that it is philosophical and it is spiritual. It has a connection with the cosmos. It has a connection with the universe. Only the master or the artist knows the way within. That is only Wu Daozi. Only he was acquainted, or rather to say, only Wu Daozi was familiar with the mysterious way that goes on. That is the way within, and that is the reason he entered the cave. And before the emperor could actually understand what exactly is going on, the door of the cave closed, and the emperor Wangzong was left astounded, spellbound, and equally shocked, because the painter and the painting both vanished. Okay, now see this line. I repeat one more time for your convenience. Only the master or the artist knows the way within and can go beyond any material appearance. Life has no meaning. Very important line, dear students. I have highlighted, I guess the highlighted portion is visible to all of you. See, life, our human life, it has no meaning unless we undertake the inner spiritual journey. Now, unless we undertake the inner spiritual journey, life practically has no meaning. And if we want to appreciate a Chinese painting, dear students, then we have to traverse, we have to undertake the inner spiritual journey. That is the reason there is a beautiful line, and I hope so you all will agree with me, that if you want to understand a Chinese painting, you have to enter the mind and the psyche of a Chinese painter. If you want to appreciate a Chinese painting wholeheartedly, you have to enter the mind of a Chinese painter, because a Chinese, in order to appreciate a Chinese painting, it is actually a process that is both physical as well as mental. Okay, that means you have to apply both your mind and senses. And as I told you, in order to appreciate a work of art related with a Chinese painting, you have to enter inside the mind of the Chinese painter. Okay, now see, such stories played an important part in China's traditional education. I told you that these are ancient folk tales, okay, stories regarding a mysterious painter who was hesitant to draw the eye of a dragon. Then the story related with the legendary 8th century painter by the name of Wu Daozi, who entered inside his own painting and his painting, and he was never seen again. All these things are ancient folk tales. But despite that, these folk tales, these myths, these legendary stories, they play a very prominent role. They occupies a very prominent place in China's traditional education, or classical education we can say. Because in China, the students of art and culture, they study about all these legendary stories. They cultivate, they research related with these traditional folk tales, okay, because these traditional stories are a part of their education, are a part of their academic curriculum. They have to study all this. Okay, now see, not only did they help the master to guide his disciple in the right direction, but they also revealed the spirit in which art was considered. Of course, it gives a knowledge related with spirituality. It gives a knowledge related with the higher essence of life that is revealed in the form of art and spirituality. and the students from the very beginning, those who are students related with art and culture, they get acquainted with their traditional stories, and of course it guides them. Okay, at the end of the day, these stories actually guides them in the right direction to pursue art, not as a medium of entertainment, but to pursue art as a medium that will actually reveal the inner essence of spirituality related with a particular work of art. That is the reason I told you all, dear students, at the very beginning of my class, that Chinese painting, it is very much philosophical, and obviously it is spiritual at the same time, because mind and spirit plays a very important role in case of Chinese painting. It is very much spiritual at the same time. See, it was through such stories that great masters made abstract concepts concrete. So abstract concepts were made concrete with the help of these stories. And remember, if you scrounge the ancient Chinese manuscripts written by the great scholars like Wangzi and Confucius, even then also you will find that there are lot of references related with Wu Dozi, and there are references also related with his mysterious disappearance inside his own painting, okay, attaining the higher levels of spirituality in the form of art and culture. And obviously something that is deeply philosophical and spiritual, that is, there lies the true essence of a Chinese painting, and that from that perspective it is different from the European form of art. Okay, now I am moving on to the next anecdote, that is about obviously Quentin Messier. We have read about it. Okay, dear students, any question, any doubt after this, or whatever I discussed, it is clear to all of you? It is clear? Have you all understood up to this? Is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let us now read about Quentin Messier. We have read yesterday about Quentin, but let us revise a bit regarding Quentin Messier also. Remember, he was a very famous painter of the 15th century Europe, and he was a very famous Belgian painter. Okay, and he was actually the master of painting in terms of attaining realism in painting. Obviously, delicate realism, illusionistic likeness, these are some terms that you have to remember whenever we will talk about a master painter of the 15th century like Quentin Messier. Okay, so let us read about him a bit. The writer then compares the above stories to an old story from Flanders. Okay, it is actually a province in Belgium, Flanders. Remember it. Remember the spelling, Flanders. The story is set in the 15th century Antwerp. A master blacksmith called Quentin Messier fell in love with a painter's daughter, whose father would not accept him as his son-in-law due to his profession. But the problem is that the girl's father won't accept Quentin as the son-in-law. The reason behind it is obviously the fact that Quentin used to do a very low profession. He was actually a blacksmith by profession. So that is the reason the girl's father was very upset with Quentin. Okay, and so Quentin had to prove by doing something in order to win the heart of the girl's father. See what Quentin did. I guess you all know. He painted a fly on the panel of the canvas by entering the girl's father's painting studio, and it turned out to be a painting only. But when the girl's father visited his own painting studio, he considered it to be a real fly for a time being and decided to swat or drive it away. But when he realized that it is actually a work of art, so much impressed he became that he personally decided to guide Quinton and made him his apprentice. Okay, that is the core concept of the story. I guess you all know by this time, so just let me recapitulate a bit. See, the master blacksmith called Quinton Metzius fell in love with a painter's daughter whose father would not accept him as his son-in-law due to his profession. So Quinton had to do something, and Quinton did something. See, Quinton secretly entered the painter's studio and painted such a realistic fly on the panel that the painter tried to swat it away. Swat means the painter tried to drive it away, was impressed and agreed to marry his daughter to the blacksmith. The father was a painter, the father of the girl was a painter. So much impressed he was that immediately he decided to train Quinton, because Quinton didn't had any formal knowledge. His artistic instinct was natural. I repeat, dear students, the term I told right now, his artistic instinct, the artistic instinct of Quinton was very much natural, and so much impressed was the girl's father that he decided to marry his daughter to the blacksmith. Okay, now later what happened? Later Quinton Metzius signified illusionistic likeness in European painting and soon became famous for his realism in painting, and this is very important. Soon Quinton became very famous related with his realism. Okay, illusionistic likeness, delicate realism, I told you these are the hallmarks in case of European painting. And soon Quinton became famous worldwide. Quinton became famous globally for his realism, for his projection or portrayal, we can say, of realism in his painting. Okay, so this is the part that I have recapped. Now comparison between European and Chinese art, this part I will be explaining from this material later. Now let us move on to the text, because up to this part we have already discussed yesterday. Now let us move on to the main text. See, let us see what more information we can get. I guess the text is visible to all of you. Can you all see the text by now? Okay, now I am moving on to the next paragraph. In the Chinese story, I will be explaining from this line, and obviously you will get some information about the comparison and the contrast between the European school of painting as well as the Chinese school of painting. Okay, so let's start. Okay, I guess there is someone. Is this student is from your class, Rahul Yadav? Is this student?
No, sir.
Okay, so I won't be allowing. Okay, now let us move on to the content. Okay, so let us move on right now. See, it is written in the Chinese story. Remember, now we are back to that concept once again, the Chinese story related with Wu Daozi. So let us move on. See, in the Chinese story, the emperor commissions a painting. You know that Wang Zong, the Chinese emperor, he commissions a painting and appreciates its outer appearance. Remember, he was been shown the painting by Wu Daozi, and he really appreciates the outer appearance or the outer or the exterior part of the painting. You all know about it. But the artist, who is the artist? The master painter. And who is the master painter? The famous 8th century painter by the name of Wu Daozi. Okay, see, but the artist reveals to him the true meaning of his work. The emperor may rule over the territory he has conquered, but only the artist knows the way within, but it is the artist who actually knows the way within. Let me show the way. Okay, Wu Daozi told the Emperor Wangzong that let me show the way, and then he entered the painting, and ultimately what happened? The painting along with the painter, they both had disappeared. Okay, the Dua, a word that means both the path or the method and the mysterious works of the universe. The painting is gone, as we know by this time, but the artist has reached his goal. And what is that? He attended the highest level of spirituality that is beyond any material appearance, and who actually had successfully attained the highest goal in terms of spirituality. It is none other than Wu Daozi. That means he attained that level of excellence in terms of artistic spirituality that is beyond any comparison, that is beyond any material appearance, something that is very important for all of us to know. Okay, now let me move on. A classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view as would a Western figurative painting. I told you there is a great difference between both the school of painting. The Western or the European school of painting is different from the Chinese school of painting. And remember, dear students, the comparison between the Chinese form of painting and the Western form of painting is very important, this part, for your exam. Okay, you can get short question, you can get broad questions also from this part. Okay, let me analyze this part for you all. See, it is written, a classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view as would a Western figurative painting, whereas the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. Okay, the Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. Now there is a lot of difference in the ideology, in the way of perception, and as well as presentation in case of a Western European painter and a Chinese painter, because if you visit a canvas, okay, painted by the European painter or any European painter, he will always want you to borrow his eyes and obviously to look at a particular landscape exactly the way he wants to show it from a specific angle. I guess you can understand that he will be showing it, you have to borrow his eyes. That means you don't have that liberty to analyze it on your own. I repeat, you don't have the liberty to analyze on your own. You have to borrow his eyes, and obviously you will be allowed to look at a particular landscape from a specific angle. Okay, unlike a Chinese painter, because the Chinese painter on the other hand does not choose a single viewpoint. Dear students, this is something very important. The Chinese painter on the other hand does not choose a single viewpoint. You can interpret the Chinese painting from any angle, from any specific angle. Okay, his landscape is not a real one, and you can enter it from any point. As I told you, unlike the European painting of the European painter, who will actually advise you to follow his eyes, and obviously the way he had chosen to explain his painting, you will be imposed, or rather to say you will be forced to analyze it from his perspective, from a specific angle. But in case of a Chinese painting, a Chinese painter ultimately at the end of the day does not choose a single viewpoint. You can enter his painting from any point. That means you have the freedom, you have the liberty to analyze the painting from whichever point preferable to you. I guess I made myself very clear. That is possible only in case of a Chinese painting, because a Chinese painter leave it to you the way you want to analyze it. Okay, then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a leisurely movement. That is the reason, if you want to appreciate a Chinese painting, it is an exercise of the body and the mind. It is an exercise both physical as well as mental. That is the reason, as I told you, if you want to appreciate a Chinese painting, ultimately it is an exercise that is related with the body and the mind. Okay, so I stop here in this class. It's already time. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all understood whatever I discussed in the class. Is there any doubt up to this? Tomorrow I will be continuing with the remaining part from this particular paragraph. So is there any doubt, dear students, or whatever I discussed, it is clear to all of you up to this? Yes, dear students? Okay, it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So,
It is cleared.
okay, fine. So